What if chasing success was actually pulling you further away from who you really are? In this episode of the Personal Success Podcast, I sit down with internationally recognized life strategist Nancy Ho to explore the paradox of high achievement. This is how outward success can often come at the expense of our inner fulfillment. And we talk about the emotional toll of living someone else's version of success, why so many high performers feel angry, stuck, or secretly unfulfilled. And the essential question most people avoid: who are you without your titles? How to uncover your core values and design a success strategy aligned with your soul. The neuroscience of clarity, the danger of early programming, and the real reason some people feel like imposters no matter what they achieve. And how to stay interesting and interested as you grow older. Nancy is a globally recognized life strategist, clarity messenger, and transformational coach with over 26 years of experience empowering high-performing professionals, executives, and business leaders to achieve external success by cultivating inner fulfillment. She is the author of Love Reignited and co-author of Success Redefined with Jack Canfield, where she explores the paradox of success and how to overcome the hidden emotional toll it often carries. Nancy has guided over 15,000 individuals through her signature integrative approach, which blends executive coaching, emotional mastery, spiritual insight, and strategic clarity. Her expertise lies in helping clients realign with their true purpose, elevate their leadership presence, and build a legacy rooted in meaning and impact. She has graced international stages along luminaries like Dr. Phil, Deepak Chopra, TJ Fox, and Moira Forbes. And her thought leadership has been featured in LA Weekly, Arabian Business, Expat Living, and Easy Health, as well as Mothership. Through her brand, Breakthrough with Nancy Ho, she leads immersive workshops, coaching intensives, and elite mentoring programs designed to transform lives from the inside out. You can find her online at nancyho.net. That's NANCYHO.net. Nancy brings humor, grit, and decades of experience working with leaders around the globe. If you've ever looked at your life and wondered, why doesn't this feel as good as I thought it would? This conversation is for you. Hey guys, it's Ryan. I just want to take a moment and say thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to the show. The way that people hear about this show is just through word of mouth. There's no other way at this point. And so if something resonated with you, share it with somebody. You can do that on social media or just text somebody. The link is always in the show notes. If you like what we're doing here, please share it with a friend. And thanks again so much for listening. All right, Nancy Ho, thank you so much for joining us on the Personal Success Podcast.
My pleasure. I'm so excited.
Yes, I was just telling you before, just looking at your body of work, and I'm so glad that we ran into each other because I'm like, wow, did I just copy everything Nancy had done? I'm really, really excited for the opportunity to pick your brain and have you share your thoughts with my audience.
Sure.
So let's dive right in. Your work with the professional paradox, that really is deeply resonant with me. And so I just want to get your thoughts on, high achievers when they feel stuck. When did you become aware of this paradox in your journey?
I was blessed. I discovered that at a very, very young age. When I say young age, I'm talking about 29 years old. That's relatively young, right? I mean, in the business world, all right, in anybody's career. It was actually a health scare. Success came early for me. Early as at 25, by any standard, all right, not comparing with anyone else, but by any standard, I was really doing good in a sense, not only in the financial terms, but in terms of my connections, in terms of my own personal growth. So it was really great. But what was not good, I was always angry.
Yeah.
I was always pissed off, always unhappy about something.
Yeah.
Right? Although I cannot put my finger there and what I'm really unhappy about, it's just and of course being young, right? Hot-blooded and everything else, right? I'm this old, I still can be so passionate. Yeah. Imagine that was much younger. And then it was a health scare. Thank goodness was nothing too bad. All right. But that got me hey, all right, sure, we all want success, right? We all want to be, somebody rather than living a life and cruise along. But at the expense of, that's not good. At the expense of health, at the expense of relationship, even at the expense of your own soul.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so that's the not good part. So I would say, yeah, I discovered that at a very young age. So that was really good. So therefore, I didn't waste too much time getting lost and lost and lost. In fact, what was interesting is when I found out, rather discover that what real success means, I actually became more successful. And the more successful, what I meant is in a very holistic way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So again, it's so funny you're speaking my language, because I sort of, and I've sort of discovered, in this podcast and in my work, this kind of is something that a lot of people experience. And I love that you said there, this really resonates deeply with me, is I'm a very passionate person as well. It came across as anger when I was kind of, checking all the right boxes, and I'm sitting there kind of scratching my head like, what? Why is this not what I thought it was, And it did come across as like, I was unapproachable, I was kind of like, I think people, when they would approach me and they didn't know which Ryan they were going to get, And so it really became, and I love that you said it was younger. It took me kind of at the expense of a marriage, right, to really realize what's going on. I just became somebody completely different. So I think this is something that a lot of people, they might not experience it to the degree that we're talking about here, but they kind of realize, oh, wait, there's something more to what is successful for me than just checking all these boxes that we've sort of been handed as a ballot card, for life. So, you've coached more than 10,000 leaders. And I wonder, is there a common thread that tends to reveal itself when outward success doesn't align with that internal fulfillment that we're talking about?
Call it programming. I call it programming. We are programmed to chase after success according to keeping up with Joneses, according to what outside definition of success looks like. Even in school, think about it, right? How would you consider that you're a good student? It's when you're an A student, right? When you do well in school, right? If you don't do well in school, right? Say A, B, C, D, F. Let's say F class is the last class, right? So even you're a brilliant person, but because you're in an F class, the tendency that you judge someone in the F class would be you're a failure. In fact, I had a very broken soul that came to me because when they were young in school, right, they were told by the teacher that you haven't got any future because you're in the F class. Yeah. So unfortunately, we are programmed that way. In fact, just only I have a client. She's broken. She's broken, not because she's not successful. She's very successful. But however, she's a people pleaser. And that came from when she was young. In order to, to win her mother love, she has to be the best of the best in terms of grades. If a 98 upon 100 is bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I call it programming first. So programming, and then don't get me wrong that parents are bad. Their intention is good, but then the approach is just inappropriate. Yeah. Yeah. So then the school, then the society, then at the workplace, right? If you can perform, then you are on top. If you cannot perform, I get that we all have to perform. But then really to perform comes from the inside, intrinsic rather extrinsic. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really the issue. The success, we tend to program as just to borrow a phrase, like, to live the American's dream.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And I think, if you look at it from a psychological point of view, you can sort of see that it's necessary to kind of, look out at the world and kind of learn from it and be like, oh, okay, this is good, this is bad. But we get to a certain point in our lives where, we're still emulating, we're still kind of allowing that program to dictate the decisions that we're making in our lives. And I think it leads a lot of us, away from kind of where our soul is guiding us. And so it seems like there is something to that. So I wonder, and listen, I'm no psychologist, I have a background in psychology as far as schooling years ago, but I just wonder, what are your thoughts? Like what could, you mentioned the American dream, what could we do in our culture to kind of allow for this type of sort of self-development instead of personal development?
Okay, let's look at it this way, right? If you're going to ask a question, I ask the question very often, which I just did with that client before we started this. I asked her, I said, who are you? She went like, I don't know. Yes, my husband, I'm the wife of my husband, I'm the mother of my child, my job title is such, my parents are so and so, stuff like that. But I said, no, who are you? If you strip off all this, who are you? And this is a question that's very hard for most people to answer, including a lot of very senior executives, C-suites, and who have you? I wonder even the world leader,
Yeah, I know. Exactly. And it's so funny that you said that. And again, this is a testament to kind of how close our messages are, is that when I started this sort of personal development journey, I talked to you about, I had a divorce, and I was like, it really felt to me like I was the only one in the world that was right. And I said, okay, that's wrong. I know that, first of all. Because it seemed like everything else was messed up. And I started this blog called Who Are We? Because I came across this question somebody had written. So I was like, who are you? And it said, you can't answer with your job title, your status, whether you're in a relationship or your geographic location. And I was like, wow, how do you answer that question? I was completely lost. So I think that is a great place to start. So how do you guide people to answer that question? Because, if you say, Nancy, who are you? And then you're not allowed to answer with, I'm a coach or or where you're at in the world. Where do you look?
Answer with my values. I am love. I am truthfulness. These are my two values. And number 3 is integrity. So who am I? I'm love, I'm truthfulness, and I am integrity. So day in, night out, that's how I operate from. Yeah. Right. Sometimes I even say I'm the love me or hate me character, not because I'm a bad person as people hate me, but because I'm so truthful that you could puke,
Yeah. Yeah. And so, on your journey, because that's interesting. That wouldn't have came up, I don't think, if you would have asked me, but how do you arrive to those two values? Was it something that you chose? Was it something that you saw kind of just naturally arise, or is it kind of a mixture of the both?
For some has to be coached. For some is self-discovery. Okay. But mostly really we need to be coached. Because you sit back by yourself like, okay, values. Okay, what's my values, So we may even plug some values that we see of someone else and that looks good. But is that really your value? Okay, so say, for example, I said love. Okay, that is not coached. That is really innately because I had that from my late dad. I'm talking from 0 age to 3 years old. I lost my dad when I was only 3 years old. But I never felt I never had a dad. So whenever I said that, people look at me like, oh, I said, no, don't owe that. Because there are a lot of people who have a physical father, but they don't even connect with the father. Yeah. It's just a father figure, right? For in my case, right, even I'm not with him for so many years, right? But I've never felt like I never have a father. Because he has such imprint in me. Mm-hmm. So I always said the only thing that I know is about love. Yeah. Right? Even it's tough love. Yeah. I've got this tribe that have been following me for years. All right. And I'm known for that tough love in a sense that, something's not right. Okay. It's not right, but I'm very hard on them. But at the end of the day, being hard is for their own good. Got nothing to do with me. I can sugarcoat. That's easy. That's probably make my job, my work easier when you sugarcoat. But if I have to really so vested in my effort because it's love and something else, right? So some is self-discovery. So in that case, like for love, it's like, I just knew that. I felt that. Not that I know how to articulate that when I was younger, much younger. But as we develop, I know how to articulate that. Then the rest just like we need to be coached. So I always use this word blessed, because really I'm blessed in the sense that I come across the right people at the right time, right moment and all that. So I was coached as young as I was 16 years old. So probably that's the reason why I become one myself, because that's what it is. Even the best athlete has a coach.
Yeah. I know. Right? I know that. Yeah. So there's so much in what you just said there. And one thing I just want to kind of back up on, I thought was really beautiful that you shared was that you said, even though you lost your father when you were 3, you never felt like that was a missing part of your life because of the connection that was made. And that kind of became a foundation for who Nancy really is when you talk about I am love. Yes. That is just such a clearly beautiful expression. I just wanted to note that. And then starting to realize that when you were being coached, right, that's where you were able to kind of be directed and guided back towards some of this stuff. I think that's kind of interesting. How did that come about for you? You said when you were 16, is that right?
Yeah, I was 16, as all 16, I think, almost 16, right? We are rebellious, we want freedom, we want things our way. Then it was not, at 16, I couldn't have possibly paid for a coach, right? But like I said, right time, right place. So because I knew how to make money since I was 13 and a half years old.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. So the other thing that I know about love is also tough love from my mom. Different kind of approach to love, right? So for her was, from her rather, I was a tough love. So I went to a good school. I call them the elite school. I mean, really the elite school. Not that I'm that academic, it's just that, again, the word bless, my God, you probably hear this word bless 1,000 times. That those days, in order to get into a primary school, that's what we call it here in Singapore, right? They literally had to queue up 3 days and 3 nights for me and got me a place. If that's not blessed, what do you get that? I mean, it's very different going to a neighborhood school or going to a good school. So I went to really an elite school. Right? If anybody know Singapore, if you mentioned our RGPS, that means reference schools, primary school. It's like, ooh, all right? So I got a place. And because I got a place, I was groomed differently if I've gone to a neighborhood school. For whatever reason, my brother went to a neighborhood school. We are only a year difference and we come totally different. And because I have that good foundation, that good in the fundamentals, so I was able then in secondary school to go to another elite school. And that elite school, a lot of them were very rich. I came from above average, but not the very rich. So as all young kids, right, you go like, Mom, I want this. I want that, right? Because you look at your classmates and your schoolmates, I want that too, right? Okay. So my mom said that to me, like, of course, you could have everything that you want. No problem. Go earn it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. That'll do it.
Earn it. Of course, at that moment, being so young, at 13 plus, right? What? But perhaps me being me, okay, I'll go earn it.
Yeah.
So when I was in school, after school, people play, I go make money, all right? During school holidays, I go make money, right? So that's how I chance upon people that are much older than me because I went out making money, right? I went out working in store, those like shopping, whatever they call that, those things, it was called departmental stores or whatever. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, I then met the adults, so-called, I was a teenager, I met the adults. So then somebody came along like, I like your potential. But you're just too, a bit wild.
Wow, at 13. A little too wild. Imagine that.
That's what they say. Being wild is not because, I'm take drugs, that kind of wild. Wild is just that I'm very vocal. I'm very, unconventional. I question the authority. I don't toe the line. Not like I go and crime and do bad stuff, but I just go I remember when teachers say something and I go why?
Yeah.
You don't question.
Right, yeah.
Especially not in the Asian context. In this Asian context, you don't, right? Children are to be seen, not heard. Yeah? So I would step in that sense of being wild. So that person, I'll forever indebted again of that, he says that, you're pretty wild. That wild is you must know how to use all this. If you don't know how to use all this, then you'll be in trouble. So that's how I got coached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you, in order to learn that, to kind of, as you said, use that wildness, if you will, that kind of questioning of authority, the kind of refusal to toe the line, to always ask why. How did you learn to kind of use that for your own means?
I mean, to this, just like everything else, how do you use it? Like water, how do you use water? How do you use fire? How do you use money? How do you use love?
Yeah.
Everything else, how do you use it? So I was coached how to use that probably was not being said as truthfulness, but how to use that aggression. That was the word. So turn the aggression to assertiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because if you're aggressive, nobody's going to appreciate it. And unless, this is the one thing I've learned from very young. You got to know where you are in that so-called, in animal kingdom, right? They also know where they stand.
Yes. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, but then if you think that you are, above some people, then you are going to go crazy. It doesn't mean you got to feel intimidated. You must know where you are in your place. That's what it is. You must know where you are in the food chain.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were able to even use that as kind of data points to kind of direct how you were to kind of navigate your way through life.
Correct. Exactly. So, of course, in the animals kingdom, they don't have control, right? If you're a worm or you're an ant or you're a tiger or a lion, and it's that's literally your fate.
Yeah.
Right? But as human, we can make changes.
Yeah.
So where we are in the food chain, if you don't like that, you can make that change. And you do not make that change because of you want to be wealthy or you want to be above people, but you need to look inside. Why do you want from where you are to be where you are, the next step or the next step?
Yeah. So I think that's really fundamental. Nancy, if I could stop you right there, I think that is, it seems like this realization, right? You kind of were able to kind of look at the food chain, if you will, and be like, okay, this is where I'm at now. And this is what it's like to be above me. This is what it's like to be below. I'm somewhere, wherever in the middle or however you want to say that. And then, okay, if I want to be higher on the food chain, why is that? There's got to be like, it can't be just because I think it looks nice up there. What is it about me inside that makes me want to kind of rise to the top?
Exactly. So that's why when I question why, right? So question my own why.
Yeah.
You see, question your own why, why do you do this? Why do you do that? The why has to come first before how. But too many people are questioning the how and they get in trouble because of how. Because when they get there, it's like, okay, is that what I want?
Yeah.
Because that's not their why.
Yeah.
The what, the why, then the how will come quite naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what I think if I was an audience member would be thinking, right? So I asked you if you go to somebody and you say, who are you? And you can't say your job or where you're at in the world. And you say, okay. And I don't know who I am, Nancy. And you say, okay, let's look at your values. If you were going to talk to somebody about their why, how they find that, how would you direct them? How would you guide them to understand what that means to find your why?
Yeah. So first, it got to come from that place of values. Again, that's where it differentiates between animal kingdom and human kingdom. Right? The animals, they don't have the capacity. They operate completely out of instinct.
Yeah.
All right. A tiger is tiger. The tiger never kill because they hate. They kill for survival. They kill because, the instinctual fear, not the intellectual fear.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where the values. So first we have to discover our values. Like I said, either A, you already have that, or you're going to discover that. Of course, I have some people that tell me, I don't know, right? Because they never lived their life that way. So it's a very foreign word. So people say, my value is my children. I say, you're born into this world just to look after your children? Yes. I recognize it is your responsibility, surely.
Yeah.
But it cannot be your values.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, no.
One simple thing, I'll say, okay, let's go to Google or let's go to ChatGPT, whichever, right? Depending when we were more popular at the time. And just Google or just search for the word, all right, values or core values. A whole bunch of stuff will come on and then look at them. Close your eyes, deep breath, go inside yourself, then open your eyes, look at that and shortlist. Some, perhaps you realize, I've been that way. I didn't know. Or others you would like to be. Yeah, that's why I said that either one is like your self-discovery, you already have that, or two, you just need to be so-called coach. So you discover in that sense, right? So then when they shortlist, all right, okay, 3 to 5, then the next question, how are you going to express that? How are you going to express love, right? Through what? Through certain activities. Now, let's take, for example, a singer, right? There are singers and there are singers. So you can see, not insulting anybody or criticize anybody, right? The manufacturer ones, the boy bands or the girl bands or the manufacturer, you see, they're not sustainable, right? They're popular, right? Were sensational maybe, and then it just fizzles off. But those that truly express their singing through their values, they're sustainable.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said, I think, because there are those people who have their, I think of somebody who, I don't know if you're familiar with like Bob Dylan. He's had like 10 different kinds of music that he's done, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always been what he's interested in. And he's known for not caring about what's hip or what's, in style. And it was clear. There's a video I've seen of him like 12 or 13 playing at a folk festival. And it was clear that this is just part of this person's DNA. Right?
Exactly.
It was like, it's great if you like it. Thank you. I want to share it with you. But if you don't,
Correct.
Great too.
Correct.
And I think that's sort of been an indicator, at least for me too.
For sure. So whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a singer, a coach, a consultant, an author, whatever that might be, we just choose the activity. I call it the activity to express that value.
Wow.
Right?
It's so simple. I love that. Simple, but not easy. Right? Because otherwise everybody would just naturally do it. But it does require some guidance at some time. And I think that coaching is a beautiful way to do that. So for you, let's talk about how you talked about your values And you mentioned love, and you mentioned integrity.
And being truthful or truthfulness and integrity. So for, right, again, I have to go back to being a teenager. I have somehow the knack of telling people what to do.
You're a good boss.
I came from all-girls school, but I didn't like the girls then because they're kind of bitchy at the time. I'm talking about my school, okay? I'm talking about the school I went to because I told you, right, it's an elite school and a lot of them are very rich, they're so bitchy. So I do not play with girls, I only play with boys. Because I find the boys are just like more authentic, more like, and they like you. I mean, I'm not talking about anything over the board kind of like, just friendship like, yeah? And they don't. That's it. They don't bitch about it. They don't go and, gossip about stuff and all that. So then, okay, yes, we love to play. But look, if we fell, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah? So at least we must have, right, a reasonable grade so that we can move on in life. And then when it comes to playing, then we enjoy playing, right? Yeah. So that was strategy.
Yeah,
so
strategy.
Somehow from young, strategy, right? So I gathered the guys, together we said, okay, right. So about our age group, that kind of thing. So I said, all right, there's this test coming up, there's this going on, and then what do you want in life? Of course, our life was very shallow then. You know what I mean? No, not the life is like, the lifetime kind of life. So somehow I have the knack to do that. And it was natural. So technically, I only worked for an organization for 1 year.
Really? And then you run your own.
That's me, my own opinion. I said, I don't want to live my life in somebody else's hand. I want control. Of course, nothing wrong working for a corporation and everything else, right? Organization, but I'm talking about me, right? So therefore I go like, what do I want to do? I don't know. My mom was angry at me. It's like, what on earth? At the time, I came back from London, worked for a year, and I said, I don't want to work. I said, you don't want to work? What do you do? Now, I'm 61 years old now. All right? I know what you're going to say next. I don't look like it. Thank you.
I was going to say, 61 years young.
All right? And, I exercise like 5 times a week, 5 mornings a week. And this week, actually, I dive a little bit. This week, actually, I did a 2 minutes challenge. That is in 2 minutes, all right, burpees.
Wow.
Not that I was able to do it right from the beginning. The first day was like 35, then it went up to 40. And okay, tomorrow is the 5th day. Okay. This morning at 48. So tomorrow I'm going to hit 50.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, okay, all that I'm saying has got a reason, right? So again, it's about strategy. It's about, what do you want? And then how do you get there? Which you can hear so far is not about the outside wins. It's actually about the inside wins. Right? At this age, there are many people at 60. It's like, my God, they're limping. And they're going to doctors frequently. I didn't even get COVID. I didn't get COVID at all.
For you.
Yeah, because I believe I have a strong immune system. So I've always worked on being fit, having stamina, agility, all from that within. So I consider myself way more than just life coaching. That's why my title is life strategist, right? So I help someone to strategize their life, right?
Nancy,
whatever aspects.
As I listen to you talk, what I try to think of is, because I will speak with people like you kind of often, and what I'm sort of seeing is that you have the talent sort of that you hear, and this kind of shows up for me as I'm listening to you, is that you were able, there's a self-trust. You're able to just see your experience. Like after 1 year of working with a company, you were like, okay, this is good, but this is not for me. And then you were able to do something else, right? And you were able to kind of look like when you had the opportunity to go to, okay, yeah, the game that the girls are playing over here, I'm not interested in playing that game, but I'm going to play over here and with this. So it seems to me like the talent is just being really, you were able to kind of hear that inner calling very clear, very early. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, I guess I'll call it that, I never allow fear to get the better of me. Doesn't mean I do not have fear. If I tell you I'm fearless, I think it's a big BS.
Yeah.
A big BS. But I never allow fear to get the better of me. All right. Like as I said, right, after 1 year, I said, I don't want to work for someone. And my mom said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I said, then what do you do? I said, for sure, I'm not bumping around. I'm not living off you. All right. I don't know. Again, right? Being truthful. I don't know. All right. I'm not going to come up with some BS thing to make you feel good that, why I have to quit the job, In fact, that job I was so doted on. I was in a male dominated, industry. Strangely, why I even enter into that, because somebody I met, they said, oh, would you want a job? I said, sure. So young, you just came back. Okay, whatever, a job. All right. So probably it's blessing in disguise because I didn't like, it's not I didn't like the job. I didn't like that I'm being controlled because I got controlling mom, right?
Yeah.
So that explains. But I was so doted on because you're talking so long ago, all right, 40 odd years ago, all right, that an educated in abroad is a rare thing. Not now, all right? It's a rare thing. And if you, like I said again, right, if I can talk like that now, can you imagine when I was much younger, right? More like gutsy and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what I want to do, but I just search inside. And it's not about what I enjoy to do. Okay, that's the next coaching thing I always tell people, or rather coach them. What are you naturally good at? Without qualification, without skill set, without anything. You are naturally good at it. Yeah. So, of course, I was like, remember I told you at 16, I was being coached, but was not coached this way, but rather to always know how to look inside. So that was the value, that I got out when I was 16 to 18 before I left for Switzerland. So what am I naturally good at? I'm naturally good at sort of what I use the word, the essence, the point, to the point, the bullseye.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So for example, right?
The heart of the matter.
I read 3 books. Okay, 3 books, A, B, C. So I can read that book A, that I will get the essence of book A, and then the essence of book B, and essence of book C. And then somehow I'm able to string them together and make it so fresh.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So that's interesting because now maybe this is, I'm also listening to try to find the root of like kind of our message out there, right? And I call that. And I struggle with the word. I call that the ability to synthesize naturally. I can take things that seem unrelated and be like, and tie a through line through them. And so it seems like that's something that you're really good at.
Yeah, and I also see the depth, not on the superficial level. So as a therapist myself, so there are clients that come in and say, I don't even know how to tell. I say, no worries, just say whatever that comes to mind, right? It can be all over the place. No worries, just say whatever. Right? So whatever they say, and I go like, okay, may I reframe it for you? What you're saying is A, B, C. Oh God, how do you know? Oh, wow, you just nailed it. I couldn't even say it, but yes, that's exactly what it is. Right? So I'm able to look at the essence and the depth of it, not the model, a model and try to fit people into the model, which a lot of very conventional therapy that do that, or what is obvious on the conscious level. And of course, being so-called skilled as a hypnotherapist, that helps me to use that tool to get to the root cause of a person's problem. Okay, let's say somebody feels like imposter syndrome. It's quite common, right? Yeah. Imposter syndrome. They have the title, they have the experience, they have the exposure, they have the skills, they have everything, but yet they feel like, I'm an imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So shouldn't happen, right? How can that happen, right? So using the tool of hypnotherapy, all right, that I get to root cause. And that always comes from childhood.
Really?
Yes. Simple fact. Before age 7, our brain has not developed to analyze. Not yet. So therefore, it's like a sponge. Whatever that's given to us, we absorb. Without any like facts or figures or data or truth or whatever. Just, you are so clever. Okay, I'm clever, as a kid. Right? Yeah, or some parents may say like, hey, you're slow, you're so dumb. Okay, I'm slow and dumb. Just take it in that way. So to all the listeners, be careful what you say to your children.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So it shows up because definitely not so much anymore. And I think it has to do with the work and like what you said, the personal work and values and things like that through coaching predominantly. But it's interesting that feeling of, oh man, I have the title, but I shouldn't belong here. Hopefully no one finds out that I'm really a fraud. That really comes from this, what you heard before you were 7.
Correct.
Wow. Correct. That's impactful.
Yeah. In fact, if anything else, we're usually about between the age of 4 to 6. Yeah. So usually.
How does that show up? Like if you were doing hypnotherapy with somebody, how does that show up in the session? What does that look like for somebody to kind of reveal that?
In the process of hypnotherapy. That's a powerful tool. But of course, you've got to get someone really skilled to get into that, because a lot of times, a lot of hypnotherapists, which call themselves hypnotherapists, what they're doing is just giving suggestions. So that's not what I'm talking about. If you just want suggestion, go download it.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Yeah.
And they're for free. Go to YouTube. You can find all of that. You know what I mean? No. You got to be very personalized. Of course, I know the process of taking the person back in that I call it relaxed, let go state. So we anchor onto a feeling, maybe a feeling as like, okay, let me think about a real case. Somehow I feel I'm not adequate. All right. So the feeling the feeling inadequate. Forget about the facts. Forget about I'm inadequate because I don't have a PhD. No. Just that feeling. So we anchor 2 or 3 feelings, and then I take them back step by step, so-called step by step. And then what is significant will show up. It's not recalling memory. It's not sitting there, I recall when I was 20, and then when I was 18, then I was 15. No, it's like significant, something that's significant will show up. Okay, so usually, right, they will cry and, a lot of emotions. Maybe it can be even frustration, it can be whatever. So it shows up until I take them back to that root cause. And the root cause, mind you, is not necessarily somebody has to come from a bad family. No, because whatever that's being like I used the word program early on, it become it. My elder sister and myself put us together. You think we are from different mother and father.
Yeah. So, I mean, that tells you can kind of undo whether a programming was there. Is that what you say?
Okay. Once we get to the root cause, right? And this is where the miracle of when the subconscious and the conscious get aligned. Oh, it was when I was 5 that this and that, whatever that might be. Okay. And let me give you a real case rather than just somebody has this insecurity, feeling insecure. Whenever the husband travel, she feel like, oh God, will he come back? And the husband had never cheated on her, never had done anything remotely to give her any sign that the husband would be unfaithful. Nothing. Just like the frustration, nothing. But she can't help but feel very, very insecure to the extent of the abandonment. So bad, right? But she couldn't figure it out. So she came, we went to the root cause. And what it was nothing serious at all. I think there were about 5 or 6, right? Mom said, okay, all right, just stay inside the house. It's not like on the street, inside the house. I said, okay, I'm just going out there very quickly to pick up something and I'll be back. And it was safe. Singapore is safe. Okay. And it's a safe place, nothing like dangerous or even anything that is not child friendly. So just be there and I'll be back quickly. But that moment, for whatever reason, the mind just look at the mom and say, oops, mommy left me. Of course, the mom did not leave her. You know what I mean? But for some reason or whatsoever, maybe she just got a bit scared that she's alone or whatever, right? It's just, mommy left me. So that abandonment, sort of that lock in the subconscious mind. Obviously, the mom came back and everything was good. But for whatever reason, now being a wife and a mother of 2 or 3 kids, I couldn't remember what she has, all right? So that can conjure up or trigger that insecurity. So when the subconscious and conscious mind knows that where that come from, because that's not reality anymore, right? And even the reality is like mom did not leave her, then 50-60% of it just drop.
Wow. That's so interesting because there's a situation I can think of personally where every time I would sort of, if I explained it to somebody why it was upsetting to me when I was a kid, it sounded silly, right? But there was this emotion attached to me.
That's right.
And I had somebody tell me it was something, looking back now, I understand logically, intellectually that my father was like sort of making a joke. And so what I did is I told him, and he doesn't remember. He's like, I don't remember saying that ever, and he's like, and I was 27 years old when, you were that age. And I was like, I don't know why I'm telling him. I didn't want him to feel bad. But like that, what it did is putting it out there started dissolving. And so it sounds like this is another way to do that. So I've never tried hypnotherapy before. You might have to recommend somebody to me because I think
we can do it remotely. We can do it online.
Oh, you can? Okay, great.
We have done it. I have clients outside of Singapore. I've done it online. And in fact, like that 2 years of COVID, the intense lockdown kind of stuff, I was still doing my work. Yeah. I was still doing my work, remotely, right? Even like, we were locked down, we were home and all that. I was still working. I never had a break like, I'm going to stay home. No, I was doing a lot of work. We could do that. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, but that
That's how we
might
can
be
talk about it.
what
Yeah.
you want to do.
But it's amazing. It's amazing. So a lot of people think about hypnotherapy like they're being controlled, or it's just a whole bunch of suggestions, or like it's because it's not mainstream. It's like, psychology and stuff like that, or counseling that's mainstream, the kind of mainstream kind of psychiatrists is. They are doctors, so they will go to doctors to get fixed, but they never get fixed. So again, coming back to the subconscious mind, because that affects our autonomic nervous system, which is very much in the sympathetic nervous system, right? So that can be changed so that when it gets transported to the parasympathetic nervous system, then we create that homeostasis, that balance.
Yeah.
But people go about fixing the parasympathetic nervous system, for example, insomnia, migraine, hypertension. No. That is just like, you're not fixing it. You're just like masking it.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
so they're just addressing the symptoms.
Correct. The symptoms is in the sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
So
that's so interesting. It makes sense because I think, and again, tell me if I'm off here, but I'm kind of relating my experience to that. And I had this, again, silly thing my father said, but the emotional impact was pretty huge. And it seems like one of the things that hypnotherapy does, in the way I'm getting is from you, is it makes it easy to separate the thoughts from the emotions, to identify them, in their own kind of category. Would you say that that's kind of the effect there?
No, that would not be accurate. Okay, let me put it in a more accurate way. Where does our feelings come from? Where does our emotion comes from? Thoughts. Often people think that the emotional feeling is coming from the other party outside of us. Okay, for example, let's say, I'm just saying, right? I'm angry with you, Ryan. It's not Ryan. It's my thoughts about Ryan, my thoughts about what Ryan has done to me, like what your father said to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not separate the thoughts with the feelings, but rather going back to I coach this thing called 3 principles: mind, consciousness, thoughts. So to know that everything comes from our thoughts, then so what? Knowing that it comes from our thoughts. Are they real? Are they imagined? Are they from the past? Are they relevant? Are they irrelevant? So it's irrelevant because I was a 5-year-old and my mom just went and picked up something. That's irrelevant. You see what I mean? So because of the thoughts that's irrelevant now, I don't have to entertain it. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Sure. Some things could be still relevant because not everybody grows up in a conducive way, right?
Yeah.
So if something is still relevant, then we have to, I have to go about doing the healing work.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to heal the inner child because all children, right, needs love and protection. It's just innate, right? So that's why the strategy again. So step by step, what's needed is very, very customized.
Yeah. It's very, very, very individualized for the individual.
Correct. Very individualized. And then also, of course, after all that done, we live in the real world. So the real world, again, coming back to what I said earlier on, the values, what activities would you use to express it? Then after that, right, what strategy do you apply to be visible, right? To make your work known. And visible, I'm not just talking about when people are on their own. I'm talking even the corporate. Right? How do you excel? Then that how comes, and I have got this. In fact, I have 2 articles that are being published. One in LA Weekly, which I talk about the paradox of success. Yeah, and then the other one is in the Arabic business. I run in Arabic business. I mention things like the North Star, using the North Star. So the North Star, borrowing that concept of North Star, that our life, we have to look at that as a North Star in the different aspects. Example, friends, family and friends is one arm. Health and fitness and health is another arm. Wealth, finance and wealth is another arm. Then spirituality is another arm. Then impact, freedom, legacy, another arm. So we got to be clear about all these different arms, so-called what do we want. Then the core, the middle of it is what we do that got to support all these arms. So for example, let's take one of the arm like health, right? Health can be mental health as well. So my mental health is that I want to be composed and calm and not go into that rush, adrenaline rush kind of thing, right? I don't want that. Some people love that, fine, but some don't want that. But then this person is an air traffic controller.
Yeah.
Cannot cut it. So it's like, I'm so stressed and all that. But no, can't cut it because deep down that's what you want. Or somebody, right, having young children and they feel that, at this point in their life, okay, because, by the way, this North Star vision, I call it North Star vision, is every 3 years you got to update. Not forever because we evolve.
Sure.
Right? So let's say this person has got younger children, maybe second marriage and got younger children, whatever that might be. And he says, now, so I have learned from my first marriage, and this marriage, I want to nurture my kids. But then his job takes him out of 7 days, 5 days away. Can't cut it.
Yeah,
so you can see the picture, how people got into a big mess, what they want, and then the so-called the outside world and what that struggle from the inside world. So again, the strategy of this. But of course, it's being updated every 3 years because life evolves, right? Children grow up, become older.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this
I love that idea for the North Star. It's fairly intricate too. There's lots of different arms and whatnot, yes. But I do think there's certainly something about just the task of kind of completing that and getting that down on paper or however, so you can actually see it. It's actually externalized, and it sort of lowers your cognitive load and allows you to kind of interact with all those different arms more effectively, it seems like.
Correct. In fact, it's called leaving it. Yeah. After you know it, you got to leave it, right? Yeah. So even if you are off track, then you know why you're off track. And you can come back to it. But if we don't have this, just like if we don't plan and just like, okay, yes, we go with the flow, but go with the flow, we still need a plan, right? We still have to plan today, what time we're going to come on. Whatever. We come on when we come on.
Right. So I think this is just interesting. You've worked with a lot of C-suite clients, right? Individuals who are in that executive seat, in the executive seats, if you will. And they seem to us on the outside to seem like they have it all, but there's something missing beneath the surface. What is the commonality there? What do you frequently see that is sort of missing for someone who looks like they have it all, but really is coming to you for guidance?
Again, when we started with that, right? In a sense that because they're chasing after that dream. But is that really their dream? Or is it someone else's dream? Is mommy's dream? Is daddy's dream? Is the societal dream? Is this the look good dream? Is that really my dream? I mean, time and again, as you know, right? I work with senior executives, C-suites and all that. Time and again, especially a lady that walked in, I would just look at her like, I could be her. Right? Not in the envious way, but it's like, I could be her. I mean, I'm knowing my own ambition, knowing my own ability, right? But then my next breath said, no, of course not. Not because I cannot be her as I think I'm anything lesser. I don't want to be her because I know deep down, like I said, that my values, how I want to express it through a certain activities, like what I'm doing now. Okay, my North Star vision and all of that is who I am. So people talk about, when are you going to retire? And I go like, why are you saying this bad word?
Yeah. Why are you
using a bad word called retirement? And they're always shocked. What? I said, retire to what? Mm-hmm. Retire to what?
Exactly.
Just to, after retirement, and get sick and get demented or...
Right. Yeah. I'm right with you there because that makes me think I don't want to retire and do what? Anyway, so I'm kind of, again, as I'm sort of listening and kind of just seeing what the frameworks that I'm listening within. And it seems like it is kind of going back to this idea of these C-suite executives or whatnot. It seems like there's in your frameworks, generally speaking, and I might use a different language than you would, but there's a knowing your why. There's like an inner knowing, inner trust, right?
Correct.
And there's also a strategy that sort of emerges from that. Okay, how am I going to live my values out into the world? And then there is sort of the execution of those value. It's different than the strategy. It's how I'm actually doing that every day. Like doing your burpee challenge. You're like, okay, this is who I'm going to be. This is what's coming from my why. And so generally speaking, would you say that there's more than that, or is there more to add to that sort of model before I ask my question?
I will not frame it as more than that or not more than that. I would say don't be the best. Don't go be the best because best has a ceiling. And then what happened after you reach the best? Then you become depressed because there's nowhere else to go. And it's not about chasing after something, but seek excellence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Seek excellence. So, for example, why do I want to do the 2 minutes 50 burpees challenge, right? To show whom? I'm not showing off to anybody. We just mentioned talk about it. But I talk, this is that physical and mental growth. Because I did it.
Yes.
Again, the subconscious mind do not know what I'm doing. It only detect that feeling, all right? And there's a true sense of a winner traits. But this winning is not about I want to win over you, but the true sense of like the self-esteem winning. right? So I'm so excited that tomorrow being the fifth day, I'm going to crush it, like 50. So then that's the true sense of confidence. So to answer your question, is that more is not about the more, but it's like, stepping up and stepping up and stepping up. When we grow old, whatever the old age means, I suspect I will live a long life according to my mother's lineage. My mom is 92, 93. My grandmother passed on at 103. So I suspect I would easily, get on to 90 years old. So then my question for myself, right? Remember, I love to question why. That how I'm going to live now from 61 to 90.
Yeah.
So again, that gives me that plan. That gives me my always updating my North Star vision. So if we talk about, is that it? Is that more? But it's not the more or whatever. It's like, again, having that clarity, right? Each step away. But without the tension, the stress, I must keep up with Joneses. I'm not keeping up with anybody. I just be me, do me, right? And I coach this in my group coaching. I've got this tribe that I've developed over the years, right? They've been following me from program after program and all that. And then we are all very connected. And I'm like a mommy to them, that kind of thing. Not that they're that young. They're not that young.
Yeah. Sure.
Generally, they are in their mid-50s, 50s, but I'm like this, I'm still like the mommy, that kind, because of tough love. So I said to them, I said, 3 things you must be very mindful. These 3 things you must have when we grow old. All right? Pretty obvious. Of course, we need to be financially independent. Of course, right? Don't just live out of pension.
Yeah.
Just be financially independent, whatever that means to you. All right? I'm not going to be able to dictate what it means, right? To each his own. Number 2, right? You need to be healthy. And when I say healthy, I mean mobile. Okay, it's not just healthy, but then again, I'm limping, I'm on a wheelchair. And also, so the mobility is about having the stamina, agility, the flexibility, right? All that stamina and all that, right? Which first and second is not necessarily that hard. If you just put some plans together and just be disciplined about, I'm not a health freak, like, I don't eat this, I have no diet. Just don't overdo anything. You'll be fine, right? Third one, which I'm going to mention, not that easy. Be interesting and be interested.
Yeah.
That's not easy, right? Be interested. You're always still very curious. You still always want to pick up, new skills, whatever that skills means, something that challenge you. So the two things that challenge me now that I've just picked up recently, one is last year and one just, all right, golf. I'm very active, but I'm never into like team sports. So I'm never a sports person, but I'm always active. Like I do long distance running. I do a lot of, solo, this kind of thing. So I said, I suck at golf. I suck at anything to do with balls,
Yeah.
So because of that, I want to challenge myself because I'm not good at it, right? I'm not good at it. It's not because I want to play. I want to be being that golfer. No, because I'm not good at it. So I challenged my brain, right? So I was still being interested in stuff, right? And then the later stuff, I just put in quite a bit of money to learn, not to invest first, to learn cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Not because I'm into greed. I want to 10x.
Sure.
But it's like,
to understand.
It's intriguing that how is it being accepted that even the banks are accepting it and US is accepting it and stuff like that. There must be some science or something behind it, which I don't understand. Because I don't understand, I'm curious to learn.
Yeah.
And I just attended a class a few days ago, and it's like, oh God, it's Russian.
Yeah.
It's as if I'm learning the language in Russian. It was like,
wow.
It's in my head. But that's good. Then I'm excited. I'm always excited, That's how, I'm just giving my example of being interested.
Yeah.
Then as a person, it could be interesting.
Yeah.
Not some as being, making so fixated. I don't like this. I don't like that, Be interesting. So when you're interesting, people come to you. They're drawn to you. They're drawn to your experiences. They're drawn to your wisdom. And they will look at you like, God, I have my fan club. And my fan club are usually in their 30s. Yeah, because they always go like, Nancy, when I'm your age, I want to be like you.
Yeah.
Because they still find me interesting. I can talk about a lot of subjects. I can still go dancing. I can still, do stuff and not like, oh yeah, I'm old. Yeah. Just like I told you, the 50 burpees challenge thing. So I got my tribe to say, okay, if you like to join me in this challenge, not challenging each other, but your own challenge, right?
Challenge yourself.
And then after they have done, they will just post it on our WhatsApp group. right? It's for their own, again, their own personal, development. And so they're going to go like, my God, I'm older than them, right? They go, oh, so they look up to me as like interesting. At your age, you still can do that.
Yeah.
Is it? So you draw people to you and you'll never be lonely. Then a lot of people, as they grow older, they push others away. They become grumpy, they become negative. But of course, they don't think they're grumpy, they don't think they're negative.
Yeah. Of course not. I'm trying to think to myself, Nancy, right now, because there's, like I said, I use the word fascinating. I really don't use that word that much. And it just is fascinating to hear you talk about this. And I'm really trying to crack the code, but that might be it right there. Be interested and be interesting.
Yeah.
And that's challenging, right? It is challenging to be like that. So, Nancy.
Okay, what I really want, at the end of the day, it's like, call it my mission, call it my vision, also mission and vision. My why, I serve with love and truth so as to inspire others to live purposefully and meaningfully with fulfillment. So if anything else, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, and I love that. That's it. It's like a period on there, right? But what you said really stands out. It really lands. You come across so clearly and so eloquently, but at the same time, so fierce and passionately about who you are and what you want to bring. And there's this, obviously there's no question. And then there's something for us all to learn in that, and just the way that you are. So, where can people connect with you online or whatnot?
Yeah, easy. If you go to LinkedIn, just search Nancy Ho, Singapore, easier. Or even my email, which is easy to remember, nancy@nancyho.net.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Right? nancyho.net. Or in fact, in other platforms, you just search Nancy Ho, Facebook, but LinkedIn, particularly LinkedIn and all that, you can find me easily.
Yeah. And we'll in the show notes, we'll link those 2 articles if we can that you mentioned as well as you.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. All right. It's been an absolute pleasure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, and enjoy the rest of today.
Thank you.
If today's episode stirred something in you, if you ever felt like you were checking all the right boxes and still feeling off, it's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something deeper is calling to be heard. Nancy reminded us today that real success isn't about status or speed. It's about clarity, alignment, and living from the inside out. And that begins by asking better questions. Who am I? What do I truly believe? What does success mean to me, not just the world around me? Now, if you're ready to start that journey for yourself, I invite you to download the free Personal Success Planner. It's a powerful step towards creating clarity and building a life aligned with your values, one that actually feels like success. And you can find that at personalsuccessplanner.com. Thank you for spending this time with me and Nancy. If this episode resonated, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep defining success on your own terms.